Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Rakakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the men of great millstone, and also the men who preach and teach the likewise doctrine in order to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And I want to say salutations and shalom to all the Akim and few Akwaf that may be listening. This is your brother Batakala Yahawada from GMS Chicago. And I'm back at you with another video. And recently I was watching the apostles in New York, a few live streams, as well as other videos that the apostle Tahar has done. And he spoke about hyperinflation. They spoke about hyperinflation. And he also had requested that brothers look into the Weimar Republic, if that is, a part of the type of things they like to bring out as far as historical things and financial knowledge and things of that nature. And, the Lord has blessed me, the Wadi Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, with the zeal to be a student of history, even prior to coming into the truth, really. And especially history involving things or events where a certain group of people or a certain country might, lose a war or something like that might happen. And then they end up being put in a very compromising position, but can still rise out of the ashes from that. And the reason being is because when I was younger and not in the truth, I was, had the zeal to be a politician, wanted to try and do something to help Jake out and get out, get us on top. You know what I'm saying? But I was trying to do it the wrong way. And, of course, as I got older and, as the Lord allowed me to see the truth, I understand the error in those ways. But even besides all of that, and even though I know all those things are wrong, I still have the knowledge of a lot of the events that took place for other groups of people that were able to, rise above it, or at least appear to rise above it, because really nobody rises above what we're about to talk about here today. They have to make a deal to get out of it. And we're going to go into who they're making the deal with and what the deal is. But like I said, I still had knowledge of these events, and some of the events that I could comment or that I could point to would be, like the apostle had named, the Weimar Republic, the country of Japan after World War II, various countries that separated from the Soviet Union after the collapse of the Soviet Union, et cetera, et cetera. But without further ado, we're going to get started in the lesson. We're going to play the video for a little while, and then we're going to go to get our first scripture.
Imagine you go to the supermarket and a loaf of bread costs $200 billion. Unbelievable, but
by the way, this video is not being used for any monetary gain. My channel is not monetized. This is just for edification and learning and teaching purposes. I am claiming the Fair Use Act. Now let's continue.
Actually real, at least when your country has been hit by hyperinflation. But what leads to this catastrophic phenomenon? And which countries experienced the worst hyperinflation in history? Let's take a look. Inflation is the rate that shows how much the price for goods and services rise. A low inflation rate is the norm in most countries around the world. The US inflation rate, for example, in 2019 was 2.3%. In the Eurozone, 1.3%. The American economist Philip Kagan was the first to classify hyperinflation. He stated that the phenomenon happens when a country's inflation rate exceeds 50% per month. There are different reasons this happens. Even though each case is unique, there are common patterns. For example, in most cases, the economy...
Salakia. Now, notice this gentleman said that hyperinflation usually happens for the same group of reasons. And in all of these cases that there are common patterns. Okay. So now that we know that the pattern of how all of this is happening is common, one would say that the source of all of these patterns is the same source, or the individual or individuals or nation of people that are causing these events to happen are the same nation of people called. Salakia. Let me just give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Kakadash. Give double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the men of great millstone, and those who preach and teach the likewise doctrine and wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, Salakia, I was interrupted and cut off by my phone here. The screen locked, so I had to continue on with a newer clip. But anyway, like I was saying prior to being cut off, notice that this gentleman mentions that all of these economies that go into hyperinflation, the same kind of events are what cause it. The patterns are the same. Okay, so if the patterns are the same, then that would lead one to believe that the same individuals are doing this to all of these different countries. Okay, so keep that in mind, and we're going to continue.
Economy is already weak, and there is a shock caused by war, international isolation.
Now, notice he said a shock caused by war. Now, those of us that understand the truth and understand what's going on this planet know that every war that has been started, at least in the last two or three centuries, since the 20th century, at the least, and really, it's every war that has been started since the Renaissance. But just for modern times' sake, I guess, or relatively modern times' sake, I guess you could say that all of the wars in the 20th century and forward, for sure, were started, incited, and funded on both sides by the same group of individuals. Let's continue.
Inflation or natural disasters. The road to hyperinflation usually comes after a chain of events, and it usually happens as follows.
Okay, this chain of events, this is going to be the pattern that the gentleman is talking about. Let's continue.
Revenues are drastically reduced. The reason can be external factors like war, a sudden change in commodities prices, or country-specific reasons like political transition.
Or a global pandemic. Let's continue.
Bad monetary policies, and even corruption. The government starts printing money. The supply of money pushes inflation up. The rise impacts government revenues. The country experiences a period of high inflation, affecting the government's budget and confidence in its institutions. The government then prints more money and resorts to measures that fail to control inflation. The inflation rate accelerates. The currency value collapses. Inflation.
Before we go further, I want you people who are citizens of the United States of America to understand that on that list, let me go back, Salakia. Here, let me fast forward to where the list is fully listed. There we go. We're at Salakia. It's a little blurry here, but you can see what I'm going to say. We're at step 7. Inflation acceleration, or Salakia, inflation accelerates. That's where we're at right now in the United States and really all over the globe, with the exception of the few places that are already experiencing step 8 and beyond. Okay, let's continue.
Loads. Country experiences hyperinflation. Before the First World War, cases of hyperinflation were rare. Prices rose during the French Revolution and American Civil War, but hyperinflation is mostly a modern phenomenon.
All right. Now notice, see, because these Edomites, they'll sneak in what's the real, but they're not going to elaborate on that. Okay. Now this statement that he just made, that hyperinflation is a modern phenomenon, really requires more elaboration. But as I play the video and continue to go forward, you're going to notice that he's not really going to go into that. But we about to go into it right now. So I'm going to get my first scripture now, and it is going to be Genesis 13:2. And it reads, "And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold." Okay, so the Lord's money is cattle, silver, gold, land, tangible assets, things that you can feel, things that you can touch, things that are real, things whose value does not fluctuate. All right, but guess what? The reason that this gentleman said that hyperinflation is a modern phenomenon is because in modern times, or what this Edomite considers modern times, which would be, the mid 20th century and forward, these Amalekites have effectively stolen all the real wealth from every country on the planet. That's why the same pattern happens in all these countries that the hyperinflation kicks off in, because it's Amalek that's going over there and causing it to happen so that they can then seize all the assets and enslave you with currency. Okay? Currency that's basically shackles for a country. Currency is shackles for a country. Why? Because that said country doesn't determine the value of their currency. Amalek determines the value of your currency. Okay? And like I said, they use they use these steps and all of these things like corruption, etc., that the gentleman is mentioning. They use that in order to infiltrate the government and then pass legislation that prohibits trading in gold and silver. An example of that would be Richard Nixon in 1971, August 15th, 1971, I believe. If not 71, 1970. But it slips my memory what exact year, but I know it happened August 15th of one of those 2 years. Richard Nixon gave some crazy, beautiful, nice little speech that sounded good. You know, when you listen to it on a first layer level, it sounds great. But really, the speech was about taking all of the American people's real wealth and replacing it with pieces of paper whose value is determined by an external source outside of the government, which is run by, operated by, owned by Amalek, these so-called ish frisbee wearing people. Okay. Now, like it says, you know, the words of their mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in their heart. So that's how these Amalekites, they come. They'll give a nice rah-rah speech. They'll set up a fancy leader or somebody that these people, these stupid people, can get behind. And then he's going to come with them buttery words, and you people fall for it hook, line, and sinker every time. And really, you people, when I say you people, I'm talking about you Edomites, because Jake don't got no say in none of this. We just out here trying to get a bone and get to the next day. You Edomites are the ones who have allowed this to happen, and now your society is collapsing because of it. Let's continue.
The following ranking was created by economists Steve Hanke and Nicholas Cruz. So here we go. Let's see which countries produced the 5 worst cases of hyperinflation in the last 100 years. Number 5, Greece. This is Greece, the country that gave us democracy, philosophers, and probably the world's earliest currency unit.
And now watch how this Edomite, you see how he sneaks that in there? Because they know when they lying and they know what the lie is, but they're going to make it sound like it's the truth. You know, because Esau, his favorite word is theory or maybe or probably, because he's not dealing with the truth. He's not dealing with what really happened. For those brothers who maybe have tuned in on my channel, or anybody that has watched any video that I've made, if you just go into my catalog right now, which is, you know, not really my catalog. All of this knowledge belongs to the Lord, belongs to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, so Salakia. But if you go into the catalog, you'll see a video about the Dorian Greeks, or the Doric Greeks, Doric. And when you watch that video, you know, it goes into, in the beginning portion of the video, it goes into the currency that was being used at that time. And for the and really the reason that the currency was evaluated in that video is because Jake, the currency was made by Jake. Images of Jake were all over the currency, and these are coins that were used in Greece. But see, this Edomite will tell you that the Greeks did it because he's lied that he was the Greeks. So he wants you to think that he invented money, and he didn't. Money was being made in the Levant, in Turkey, in Asia Minor, and all over, really, prior to the Greeks, prior to the Doric Greeks coming into power, and really prior to that, okay? In the Levant, in the Middle East, which is where Jake was at the time. Jake is the first person to make money or to print or mint coins, not these damn heathens, and definitely not these Edomites, man. Let's keep going.
The drachma. It is also the country that experienced the 5th worst case of hyperinflation in history. The worst month was October 1944, when the inflation rate was 13,800%. The New York Times reported that month that $1 was worth 300 million drachmas in the port of Patras.
Okay. Now, like I said, these Amalekites, they set this up on purpose so that they can break you down economically, and then they can take over your government. All right. So we're going to go to the next precept, because you see how it said that $1 was worth 300,000 American, or $1 was worth 300,000 of whatever it is that they was talking about. All right. So with that being the case, Salakia, I think it's 13. Salakia. All right. right, here we go. I don't know. Oh, because I hit Psalms. That's why that happened. Salakia, I hit Psalms the first time. That's why I wasn't there. Okay, here we go. So this is Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. Okay? So these Amalekites, they love to put usury on people. They love to make deals that are fixed or structured in the spirit of a false balance. Okay? These Amalekites are not making no fair deals with nobody. They deal in false balances exclusively. All right, let's continue.
To understand how the situation got that bad, it is important to go back 4 years. The country was occupied by the Axis forces during the Second World War. The new government added to its expenses the support of its army, which had approximately 400,000 soldiers. This expense represented between 1/3 to 3/5.
Like I mentioned before, anytime that you hear about wars, especially in the 20th century, but really anytime that you hear about wars after Esau has taken back over and gotten his blessing the second time, anytime you hear about that, any wars that happened during the second leg of the Roman Empire, which is this Edomite's last chance, any wars that you hear about during this time period were started by Amalek, all right, and funded by Amalek on both sides. And you'll notice that war is one of the main things that breaks these countries down and has them and forces them into having to deal with these kikes. Let's continue.
Of all the country's expenditures during that time, and notes advanced from the Greek bank paid the bill. When the occupation ended, tax revenues covered only 6% of total expenditures. Another point of instability that contributed to the hyperinflation was the government's policy of paying with gold sovereigns, a British gold coin. This reduced public trust in the economy and added uncertainty to the situation. In 1940, a British gold coin could be exchanged for 1,100 drachma. By December 1944, it could be exchanged for 19.9 trillion.
See, this society, this whole global society that Amalek has started and is presiding over is all based on false balances, man. It's all based on false balances. If the money was really backed by gold, then inflation would be impossible, because you can only print as much money as gold that you have. But since you start dealing with this Amalekite, since the Lord has allowed them to run wild and run rampant in the earth because of the things that we've done in the past, now look at the results that you get. Okay, usury is running rampant. Inflation is running rampant, and it's about to come to a theater near you. Okay, so you better get ready. Let's continue. And when I say get ready, I mean getting right with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because any of you preppers that want to store food and all of that, y'all keep doing what y'all doing, man. Because the men of the Lord are going to need all of that stuff when the day comes. So, keep stacking if you want to. If you don't want to get right with the Lord, that's cool. We're going to take all of that. And as far as you heathens, you definitely should keep storing stuff, man. Because the men of the Lord are going to need all of that. Let's keep going.
In drachma. In October 1944, the exiled Greek government returned and implemented plans to curtail inflation. The country continued to be plagued with political instability, internal conflict, eternal conflict, war, usury. All of these things should have Amalek's name ringing in your head whenever you hear it. Okay, because this is Amalek's MO. And Amalek is the one that's doing all of this, which is why there's a certain roadmap that all of these countries follow when they go on the road to inflation. Let's continue. And other difficulties. Post-war Greece was marked by other inflationary periods. The country joined the European Union in 1981 and adopted the euro in 2001. Since then, inflation
entered the European Union in 1981, adopted the euro. Okay? Amalek forced them to make a deal. And the deal that they made was a false balance. Let's keep going.
Remains under control. Number 4, Germany. One of the most famous hyperinflation periods in history happened in Germany during the Weimar Republic. Events took a dramatic turn in October 1923 when wholesale prices increased by 29,500%. A loaf of bread in 1920.
Ads.
7.7
Edomite
million
gotta
people
make money
signing
off
up to use
everything,
this. But the
man.
latest thing that you're
And he's
introducing,
still broke.
it kind of proves
Two cost 163 marks. By September 1923, the price had increased to 1.5 billion.
There goes another false balance right there, okay? And these Edomites, they know who to do this to. Now, the Weimar Republic is which is known as Germany today, was really one of the first cases, if not the first case, and if not the first case, definitely the first really bad case of hyperinflation that this planet has seen, besides the Romans and all of that. I'm talking about in the modern time, okay? Now, why was Germany the first place that these Amalekites tried to take over? Okay? Because Germany is in their biblical nationality would be the Teman or Temanites, all right? And those of us that are in the know understand that these Temanites in particular are excellent engineers, especially when it comes to weaponry, okay? Now, with Esau's blessing being the sword and these Amalekites wanting to take over the world and understanding that they can only do so with their blessing, what do? They break down and they conquer and take control over all of these Temanites that are building these machines and industrializing, spearheading the industrial era with their ingenuity. They break them down and figure out how they can get them in their pocket. And the way that they figure out how to do it is with this hyperinflation, okay? Because what happens after this? Adolf Hitler comes to power, who is just a bastard of Solomon Rothschild and some servant wench bitch, okay? He comes into power in Germany. World War II happens. And then when World War II happens and Germany gets broken down again, the Temanite scientists are split up in two. Half of them go with the Soviet Union. The other half go with the United States, which was the original plan all along. See, these Amalekites, even though they're the head of the house of Esau, they're still the weakest ones, okay? So first thing they did was take out the ones who could build better weapons than them and put them in their pocket and had them building weapons for Amalek. And then Amalek has his blessing and he can just start taking over things. Let's continue. Salaki, you know what? Let me go to the scriptures real quick and get that, man, because I'm it's a lot of talking going on and I don't really feel comfortable with that. Let me Salaki, I think it's in Genesis 25, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, Salakia, not that one. Okay, Khan, here we go. Let me go down a little bit more. Salakia. Okay, this is Genesis 27 and 34. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great exceedingly bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me, even me also, O my father." And he said, "Thy brother came with subtlety and hath taken away thy blessing." And he said, "Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these two times." Salakia. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, "Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me?" And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, "Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren I have given to him for servants. And with corn and wine I have sustained him." Salakia. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, "Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, "Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. And by Salakia, and by the sword shalt thou live, Salakia, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." All right. So Esau's blessing is the sword. Amalek, and really, Salakia, really, the person who facilitates, or the nation of Edom that facilitates that blessing, are the Temanites. Okay, the Temanites are modern day Germans, not the real ancient Germans who were Jakes, but the modern day Germans, the people that live in Germany today, the so-called white Germans. Okay, these are Temanites. They're the ones that build all the weapons. They're the ones that build the sword. So what does Amalek do? He gets them in his pocket first. All right, let's continue.
In November, it was 200 billion. The situation got so extreme that people were paid out at an hourly basis. Workers rushed to stores to secure food and produce before prices soared again. The prices doubled every 3.7 days on average. It was normal to see people carrying money in wheelbarrows. Restaurants stopped displaying menus. It was pointless. By the time a person finished eating, prices had gone up. Salaries and pensions lost their value fast. A university teacher, an esteemed
Pensions, all you Jakes that think y'all got good jobs, all of that shit is over with, man. You don't have a pension anymore. It's lost, all right? And it's been lost. Let's keep going.
position in society that came with a respectable salary could no longer feed his family. A combination of factors led to this nightmare. After the First World War, the country had to shoulder the blame for starting the conflict, pay exorbitant reparations.
Oh, whoa. You leave it to these Edomites to tell you today, especially in the Congress House over here in the United States of America, you let these Edomites tell you they don't believe in reparations. They don't think that people should have to pay for the things that they and their ancestors have done. But as you can see, those rules only apply to you, Jake. Because this Edomite, he's known to want to get his shit back. That's his MO. Really, that's why he comes so violently at us, because he thinks we stole his birthright and he's trying to get it back. Okay? And as you can see here, this Edomite will even inflict reparations against his own people. He'll make his own people pay out reparations. Okay? So that we don't believe in reparations. If you think that, if you believe in that, then you're stupider than anybody, okay? This Edomite's modus operandi is trying to get back at motherfuckers, man. Let's keep going.
Relinquish control of colonies and territories, and limit the size of its army. All of this would already be a source of destabilization. But there was more.
Uh-oh.
Germany had used
Debt. When you hear the word debt, Amalek should be popping off in your head. Let's go. I think that's Habakkuk. Let's go to Habakkuk. Salakia, that's in the Old Testament. Let's go to Habakkuk. What's that? 2 and 6. Con, here we go. This Habakkuk 2 and 6. Actually, do I want to read up 1? Let's read up 1. This Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And this is talking about you Amalekites, man. You greedy bastards, man. You frisbee wearing ishes, man. You motherfuckers can't get enough, man. And it's so bad that you even feed on your own people. And you know what? That's cool. They deserve that. And they're going to be Teddy Pendergrass in the kingdom, man. 2-time losers. Let's keep going, man. This is 2 and 6, man. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that laden himself with thick clay. Now, let's go into the concordance real quick here, because we want to find out. See, we want to see what this clay means. Let's see. Okay, here we go. This is H5671. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna listen to the Hebrew real quick.
Strong's H5671. Avtit.
Okay, so avtit. All right. Now let's see what the definition is. Outline of biblical usage. Salakia. Weight of pledges. Heavy debts. All right. So when you hear that, that's Amalek coming with that shit, man. But guess what? Just like Amalek is trying to strap all these people with debt, including heathens, Jake, and heathens alike. Guess what, Amalek? And you see, Amalek has strapped debt all over himself, and he has brought everybody else with him, man. Okay, so just like he wants to get everybody else in debt, Amalek has put himself in debt. Amalek has put all other Edomites and heathens in debt. And he has put all of you 2/3 in debt. Okay? And the debt I'm talking about ain't something you gonna pay back with dollars, man. We gonna take them dollars anyway. We gonna take that gold anyway. The debt you got is gonna be paid back with pain. And if you a heathen, it's gonna be paid back with pain and slave labor. Okay? And then if you were Edomite, it's going to be paid back with pain, slave labor, and then extermination. Let's continue.
Funds to fund the war. The plan was to conquer territories and pay the debt back with the conquered money. But in reality, the new republic was created already with a colossal debt resulting from pre-war bonds. Some economists estimate that it was probably around 175% of the GDP, with no option of a bailout. Quite the opposite. Germany needed to pay reparations to the other countries in hard currency.
Here we go again with the reparations, man. This Edomite, he's quick to get reparations when it comes to him, but when it's Jake's time, reparations is stupid. That don't matter. Too much time has passed by. These motherfuckers make up any kind of excuse for you, Jakes, but when it's time for them to get reparations on some shit they started, they quick for that. Let's keep going, man.
The government then started printing money to pay its debt and to buy foreign currency.
Whoa, printing money to pay his debt. That sounds familiar to me. It sounds like something I heard of before.
The more it printed, the more the currency tanked and inflation rose. People realized money had lost its value and rushed to spend. This created a vicious circle. In 1914, a dollar was valued at around 4.2 marks. By November 1923, the exchange rate for a single US dollar was 4.2 trillion
Look
marks.
at that, false
The
balance.
situation was stabilized somewhat by a new currency, backed with hard assets in 1924. But by then, millions of middle-class Germans had lost their savings. This period was so traumatic that some people say to this day, it still haunts the public and continues to be an influential factor in the country's debt aversion.
Okay. So we're going to stop there. We don't need to hear any other stories. Actually, I'm going to get this last scripture here in Nehemiah, and then we can close this out. Salakia. Nehemiah 5 and 7. All right. Okay, so here we go. Now, like I said, this Amalekite, he likes to use debt. He likes to use false balances. Let's see what this says right here. Then I consulted with, this is Habakkuk 5 and 7, Salakia. This is Habakkuk 5 and 7. Or Salakia, not Habakkuk, Salakia. Nehemiah 5 and 7. Nehemiah 5 and 7. Okay. Then I consulted with myself, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers, and said unto them, ye exact usury, every one of his brother. And I set a great assembly against them. Okay. So guess what, man? Just like, see, these Amalekites, they don't have no quarrels with putting their brothers in usury. They don't have no quarrels with doing it to anybody. They'll do it to themselves. They don't care. Okay. And all of that is going to end up with this dollar collapsing and things getting really bad, man. And understand something, man. Everybody on this planet knows you Amalekites are fake and you're liars, man. Everybody knows it. The only reason that this is held up as long as it has is because the Lord was punishing us and because you fools were given all the resources by the Lord. Okay. But all of that shit is over with now, man. Y'all not the only ones with nuclear bombs no more, man. Okay. All these other heathens, they got their shit now, too. Now they ready to stand up. Okay. Scriptures say they beat their plowshares and pruning hooks into Salakia. Let me just get that. I don't want to butcher nothing. Salakia. Okay, here we go. This is Joel 3 and 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And that's what's happening right now. All these heathens, these Indians from India, these Pakistanis, these Chinese, these Japanese, all these people got nukes now, man. And they looking at y'all because they know who's been doing them, man. But they just ain't had the ability to fight back. Well, now all that shit is over with, man. Okay. And really, to be honest, them heathens is really the last of your worries, man, because we're going to come back and smash all of y'all. Okay. Lord willing, we be of that number. Lord willing, I be of that number. Okay. But with all that being said, I just want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Rakakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the men of great millstone. Also, the men who teach and preach the likewise doctrine. No compromises, 100% truth. And I want to say shalom to all the Akim and the Akwaf that are listening. And salutations to all of y'all, man. Y'all be smooth out here. Be safe, man. We almost out of here, Lord willing. Those of you who are listening and those of you who are doing the work, be at that number. Lord willing, I be at that number, man. Kwam Yasharala and Abba Babal.